So MSNBC host Joy-Ann Reid is under fire again for a series of old homophobic blog posts. Now these were back from 2007, 2009, and a lot of them focused on Governor Charlie Crist of Florida. Now, Charlie Crist is now a Democrat, and he was a closeted gay man. So he was one of those, I guess, log cabin Republicans like, hey man, I might be gay, but I really love them tax cuts and deregulation. So, yeah, I'm a Republican. Well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, especially since the entire Republican Party hates you. They hate everything that you are. So, eventually he got it, and he was like, okay, well, I'm going to become a Democrat, especially since the Democrats have moved a little bit further to the right since the Clinton era, since the Clinton DLC took over. Now, let me give you the details on these blog posts. According to The Intercept, she repeatedly referred to Crist as Miss Charlie. Oh, okay. So, obviously, poking fun at Charlie Crist using anti-trans slurs. Well, that's very, very classy, right? Miss Charlie, wrote Reid, was someone who, if he ever got to the White House as John McCain's vice president, which is, again, crazy thought, who would be fixated not on policy, but on designing pretty napkin patterns at state funerals, and would spend his honeymoon ogling male waiters. Again, there's some anti-trans and definitely some anti-gay undertones, or overtones, actually, in that post. That it is obviously horrendous for things for someone to say. But again, this is Joy-Ann Reid, somebody who is now part of the resistance, right? Now, again, this hits on some of the more gross and disgusting stereotypes that people have about gay people and transgender people. Now, look, she apologized for those blog posts some time ago, back in December, and said that, hey, man, look, what I said was stupid. I evolved on the issue. And look, the only reason that I really publish these is to point out GOP hypocrisy on gay people. Okay, well, in her apology, Reid insisted that she has gay friends. I can't be homophobic. I have gay friends. Oh, boy. Oh, God. This is getting sadder by the minute. And that she said her writings were insensitive, tone deaf, and dumb. All those things, absolutely, right? So, look, I'd love to leave it at that, right? Because, honestly, like, people change. People evolve. I mean, for example, the Democratic Party itself didn't evolve until 2012, when President Obama was like, oh, yeah, okay, now it's safe. Now the polls are in favor of same-sex marriage. So, yes, we're going to be in favor of it now. And look, they did great work, got rid of DOMA, which was a Bill Clinton thing. And, yay, we've embraced same-sex marriage in America. And it is a new dawn. It's a new great day. Again, I would love to leave it at that when it comes to Joy-Ann Reid. Look, on the issue of, hey, look, I want to point out GOP hypocrisy, I totally understand that. I do the same thing. And so, if that's what you were trying to do, and you did it in a horrible, dumb, insensitive way, okay, I get it. However, there are new articles that have just come out that are not related to GOP hypocrisy, that are actually really, really terrible. Now, using the Wayback Machine, according to The Intercept, the Internet Digital Archive that stores old online content, Jamie Maas unearthed even more terrible posts. Now, what do they say? Well, first, let me go to Glenn Greenwald here writing. He says, unlike the post for which Reid apologized for in December, which he said were intended to mock the hypocrisy of GOP officials who are simultaneously closeted gays, but also anti-gay in their politics. Again, it's perfectly fine to point that out. These newly discovered articles have nothing to do with GOP hypocrisy. They are just hateful, bigoted, and homophobic in their own right. Now, look, I got to make something clear. Glenn Greenwald is also gay. So this is a little bit personal, and I can understand why. Now, this, of course, Greenwald is basically commenting on this piece in Mediaite, who reported these, right? So let me go to that and give you some examples of what she said. Now, this is while defending former NBA star Tim Hardaway's aggressively anti-gay comments. Now, she wrote that while such comments are stupid for a public figure to make, most straight people cringe at the sight of two men kissing. Oh, really? Really now? I don't care one way or another. Now, if you do, then that's your problem, right? But to put a blanket statement out there that, oh, most straight people are really, really uncomfortable when two men kiss, that's ridiculous. That's not true at all. Now, she also said that she couldn't go to see Brokeback Mountain, despite her sister's ringing endorsement. Now, I'm sure her sister sounds like a lovely person. But she says, I didn't want to watch two male characters having sex. Does that make me homophobic? Probably. Nailed it. She also argued that intrinsic to being straight is finding gay sex acts gross. Again, I don't really focus on gay sex acts. So I don't have like an opinion one way or the other. That's your thing, do you, boo, right? Nonetheless, if you tend to think about gay sex acts, I don't know, like, that doesn't seem like it's a normal thought process for you to, like, think about it. Again, okay, let's continue, right? I don't want to say anything more about that. Now, she defended Marine General Peter Pace after he condemned homosexual acts as immoral by suggesting his views are actually quite normal. And she also opposed Harriet Meyer's nomination to the Supreme Court by implying she is, quote, a closeted lesbian, and comparing her lesbian haircut to those worn by the presidents of now and GLAAD. Now, those are, of course, two organizations that, well, she happened to be fairly close with, at least until these blog posts had come up. And then, finally, she promoted the ugliest, according to Greenwald, and the most destructive stereotype of gay men as pedophile predators by suggesting that anti-gay attitudes are based in concerns that adult gay men tend to be attracted to very young post-pubescent types, bringing them into the lifestyle in a way that many people consider to be immoral. That's what she wrote. And that also she wrote that gay rights groups seek to organize very young, impressionable teens who may have an inclination that they are gay. So look, that is pretty disastrous, right? Now, she could, of course, come out and say, oh, those are terrible. Yes, there was a time where I thought that way, but now I don't think that way anymore. And I apologize for these. These are horrific. I don't think that way. I'm a different person now. And if she were to do that, well, then I wouldn't be doing this story. I wouldn't be talking about this. This wouldn't be newsworthy. But that's not in the direction that she went. Now she's denying that she didn't write these. Well, if she didn't, how did they get there? Well, that's an interesting question. How did they get there? Well, if you ask Joy and Reid, she would say that she is the victim of a smear campaign and a hack. Interesting. Now, in a statement to Mediaite, she suggested that at least some of these terrible articles were added by unknown external hackers. Well, let me guess. Are they Russian? Is there a guy named Boris, perhaps? I don't know. Now, there are some people who do know. But let me go to her statement. Right. Now, in December, I learned that an unknown external party accessed and manipulated material from my now defunct blog, the Reid Report, to include offensive and hateful references that are fabricated and run counter to my personal beliefs and ideology. Well, perhaps they run counter to the beliefs of today, but come on. Look, if you were homophobic in the past and you changed, then that's a good redemption story. That actually makes you feel better, look better. Like, yes, I said these things, I believe these things, but guess what? I now think and believe differently, and I am a better person for it. I have progressed on this issue. And that, I think, would find a lot of traction with a lot of people in America who have also went through a similar evolution on the issue. But no, again, she doesn't go that way. In fact, she says, I began working with a cybersecurity expert who first identified the unauthorized activity, and we notified federal law enforcement officials in the breach. The manipulated material seems to be part of an effort to taint my character with false information by distorting a blog that ended a decade ago. Now, look, that blog is gone, right? That blog was deleted after the first round. So how did they get access to the blog? Through the Wayback Machine. I'm going to go into that for a minute here. But first, the end of her statement. Now that the site has been compromised, I can state unequivocally that it does not represent the original entries. I hope that whoever corrupted the site and recognizes the pain that they have caused, not just to me, but to my family and communities that I deeply care about, LGBTQ, immigrants, people of color, and other marginalized groups. So, let me get this straight. Just kind of a recap of what's going on. A long time ago, 2007, 2009, you wrote terrible things, of which you have then apologized for, and then had deleted your blog. So that blog is, as I said, gone. Off. Well, I mean, look, anything that's on the internet stays on the internet. It's never truly gone, right? The blog itself is gone, but it is accessible through what they call a Wayback Machine, which is essentially an archive, right? Now, let me go to a statement from the people who run the archive, the Internet Archive. They said that some recent press stories have discussed archive blog posts of a prominent journalist, Joyanne Reid, in the Wayback Machine, and their claims that some of these posts were manipulated by an unknown external party. This past December, Reid's lawyers contacted us, asking to have archives of the blog, blog.reidreport.com, taken down, stating that fraudulent posts were inserted into legitimate content in our archives of the blog. Her attorney stated that they didn't know if the alleged insertion happened on the original site or with our archives. The point at which manipulation is to have occurred, according to Reid, is still unclear. When we reviewed the archives, we found nothing to indicate tampering or hacking of the Wayback Machine versions. At least some of the examples of the allegedly fraudulent posts provided to us had been archived at different dates and by different entities. We let Reid's lawyers know that the information provided was not sufficient for us to verify claims of manipulation. Consequently, and due to Reid's being a journalist, a high-profile one at that, and the journalistic nature of the blog archives, we declined to take down the archives. We were clear that we would welcome and consider any further information that they could provide us to support their claims. So, that's the archives saying, yeah, we didn't find any evidence of tampering. So, were you hacked? Not that we could tell. There was no tampering of your blog, no tampering of our archives. And look, if you could provide us with more proof and evidence, well, then we would definitely take that into consideration. But they don't have that. So this entire claim that, oh, this is just character assassination. This is all an effort just to make me look bad. And let me guess, it's either the Russians or the Bernie Bros. Which, by the way, I believe there was an article that I saw while researching the story where it showed that Russian bots and Russian trolls actually loved Joyanne Reid to retweet her, which is very interesting. Now, more information on how this could possibly have happened, but likely not. According to computer experts, hacking the Wayback Machine would be very, very difficult to do. Cybersecurity expert Jeffrey Carr told The Intercept that the work required to do this would be quite extensive and sophisticated. And I don't think a weekend MSNBC host is all that important enough to do that to. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. But the more simple explanation is that perhaps that she was homophobic back then, and more homophobic than she had let on. That to me makes sense. Okay. Look, she had terrible views, right? And I'm doing this with all fairness. She had some pretty terrible views back then. You know what? Who else had terrible views? Cenk Uygur. Cenk Uygur used to be a conservative. He used to talk about how women were defective for not wanting sex, for not wanting to have sex with men, or specifically him. But you know what happened? He grew up. People change. They become better people. And if that happened to Joy-Ann Reid, well, then that would be great. Just be honest and say, yes, I used to be a terrible person. I used to have terrible views. But guess what? I've evolved. I've changed. I'm a better person now. I have different views. I grew up. That's what happened. Look, I'm actually for that, right? I'm for people changing. I'm for people evolving. I'm for people becoming better people, right? Now, look, that's why I didn't cover the original posts. Because, again, maybe she had changed. She had apologized. I left it at that. But now, with this, the hacking, and it could be, she's not saying Russians, but, you know, I think personally that, oh, no, I was hacked. Well, who do supporters of Joy-Ann Reid always think of when they talk about hacks? They talk about Russia. So, it's probably the Russian hackers that went in to try to smear me, or the Bernie bros. No, dude. All Joy-Ann Reid has to do is just own up. You got to save face, right? Just say, yes, I had terrible views, and I had awful views, and now I'm a better person. I never said those things. I was hacked. Because you know what? Most people, when they look at that, they don't believe it. They're not going to buy that excuse. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.